Hello there. I'm doing a video here. It's a different one. I've never done one like this on this channel before. I'm joined by a very special guest, Mr. Ross Goodall. How you doing, Ross?
I'm doing really well. Ollie, how are you?
Tickety-boo. Thank you for asking. So for those of you who don't know, Ross is also a YouTuber. I always feel weird calling myself a YouTuber, but there we
I don't
go.
like the term, no.
No, I don't either. Ross is also a video creator with an excellent music taste. I will link his channel down below so you can check that out. We've done two videos like this before. They're both on his channel. We've done a video on our top 10 Noel Gallagher's high flying bird songs, and recently we've also done one, our favourite Paul McCartney songs in the 21st century, which are both very good videos. So go and check them out on Ross's channel. But today we're going to do something a bit different. It's not really got a specific theme on one artist. Instead, we're going to be talking about the top 10 gigs that we have been to so far as of present, which is 16th of February 2024. We're not over the hill yet, so we'll probably still have more gigs to go see. But yeah, I don't know. Ross, do you want to talk a bit about what got you into gigs and whatnot, your first gigs, how much you go to them and stuff?
Yeah, I try and go to concerts fairly often, maybe not quite as often as you, maybe average about. I think last year was my record. I think I went to 10 concerts last year, which I think the most I've ever been to. But normally I go about five or six. I don't know. I think my first concert, I won't spoil. My first proper concert, I won't spoil it because that is on my list
On your list.
somewhere. My first kind of proper one, but I think it kind of it just kind of developed with my music taste and then seeing the art, because a lot of the artists that I like, I do have an older music taste, and I guess a lot of people. I'm just lucky that a lot of the artists which I do really like are still out there performing. So yeah, try really like in like many cases it's just a case of try and see them like while you can, like while they're still around. Which I'm sure is
Absolutely.
maybe the same kind of thing for you, yeah.
It is, yeah, with me, same thing. It's mainly older artists. It's not entirely, some of them are younger, more contemporary ones, if you can call them that. But yeah, there will be some older artists on my list, quite a few towards the top of the list.
Yeah.
But yeah, should we get into it?
Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. Do you want me to go first, or do you want to go
You
first?
go first.
I'll go
You go
first.
first,
No,
Ross. You go
no
first.
problem. So,
Right.
my number 10, I'm going for, and I've pulled out all ticket stubs where I've still got them. Maybe like some of these days of paper tickets, still some of them
You're more
e-tickets. It's
prepared
not the
than me.
same.
Yeah.
It's not the
I
same.
don't know where
So
my tickets are these days.
fair enough. Yeah.
Lost them
So
all.
yeah. So my number 10 is Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds. This was at the Edinburgh Playhouse on the 7th of May, 2019. This I've seen Noel Gallagher 3 times in total. This was easily my favourite, like off like 3 times, because the Playhouse is quite a relatively intimate venue, certainly when compared to where I've seen him before, like at like the kind of like the Hydro, like the kind of like the big arena. And yeah, this was just like the most memorable. We were sitting pretty much right down the front, but ended up kind of standing for really all the concert. They had seats, but there's literally no point in them being there. He did a really interesting set list as well. So this was May 2019. So this was, I think, the weekend that Black Star Dancing, the song, came out. So just that song. So he did, and this was a little run of shows he did. I'm not sure if they were just if they were maybe like a preview for a wider tour or sort of like kind of warm up gigs, like a wider tour possibly. But he did really interesting set list because he did the live debut of that song, and then he also did the live debut of Rattlin' Rose as well. That was the first time it was still an unreleased song, and I think that's the only time I've actually, or certainly one of the only times that where I've experienced like an unreleased song and that kind of been there, like when an artist just kind of premiered like a brand new track, and then did some interesting, and then he did the Mexican and Lock All the Doors, which he doesn't do too often these days. So those were great to hear, and then a full band version of Talk Tonight as well. So quite an interesting and like varied set list there for me. So yeah, Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds at number 10.
I won't say too much because I was also at that gig, and yeah, I won't spoil it. It is on my list. It's a little further up still to come, but yeah. So I'll add a bit to that when I get to that. For me, number 10, I'm going with a band that I didn't think I would ever put in my top 10 because I'm not the biggest fan of them in the world. I don't really sit and listen to them. But I'm going for Cortinas. And it's the gig they did at Manchester Arena in December 2019. You must proper play, proper
blind not to see. And I was just a stopgap sitting somewhere in between his hand and his life.
So this gig for me, it wasn't the first time I've seen them, but it was the first time I've seen them on like a bigger venue. I'd seen them at smaller ones before that. And I'm not the biggest fan of Cortinas in the world. I mean, they're all right, but when you see them live, have you seen them live?
No.
No. Well, if you ever see them live, it's like they're a completely different thing live. It's like live, they're really good, to be fair, but it's the audience that makes it. And that gig, that Manchester one, it just felt very special. I don't know why. Obviously, they're from Manchester, so it was a home gig, and it was just before Christmas, and they had an orchestra with them, which was nice to see some of the songs with an orchestra backing them. And I think Miles Kane was supporting as well, which I really enjoyed. Miles Kane too. He did a cover, I think it was at that gig he did That's Life, which is a Frank Sinatra song, which you wouldn't really associate with him, but he actually did a really good job of it. But yeah, I would go Cortinas at Manchester Arena, number 10 for me.
No, very good. Yeah. I can't say I'm a massive fan of theirs. I know maybe a handful of the more popular songs, but definitely one of the biggest live indie bands, I guess, off the more recent era. Yeah. So for me, at number 9, I go for, I think this was my last concert I went to actually, which was like Belle and Sebastian at Paisley Town Hall on 9th of December 2023.
Do you want the endless wondering gets you down? Nobody gives you a chance or a dollar in this old town. Silence from you is a giveaway.
I've really only gotten into them in like the past year or so, but I'm really eager to see them live again. The show's just really feel good kind of thing, like, you know, and like they kind of like of a couple of tracks they invite the crowd like onto like the stage to join them for like the boy with the Arab strap, and then they always change the set list from night to night as well, so you never quite know like what you're gonna get. So that's why I'm really eager to see them again. And also the lead singer, like Stuart Murdoch, was actually very chatty with the audience. There's sometimes which I actually quite like at shows, you know, they kind of makes it feel quite intimate. I guess there is also merit, I guess, in just getting your head down, a bit like Noel Gallagher does, and just playing the songs with limited like interaction. But at the same time, I do quite like it when there is a bit of to and fro in, like with like the audience, a bit of chat. Like I think that kind of brings you closer to it. So yeah, for me, like at number 9, like that's where they go.
I'll be honest, I've never heard of them.
Really?
So,
no, I
haven't. So that'll be a band I'll have to give a listen to at some point, check them out, because they sound good from what you said there. Right, number 9 for me. I don't know if this is a controversial opinion, but I am going for what, in my opinion, is the greatest Scottish band of all time. I'm going for Primal Scream, and this was a gig they did in Glasgow, which was in 2022. I've got written down here. It was an anniversary gig for the Screamadelica album, and they did the whole album live from start to finish, which, you know, it's one of the biggest albums of the 90s. It's an incredible album, and to see the full thing from start to finish live is just, it was very special. And again, they're a Glaswegian band, so to see them in the hometown, it was incredible. I think as well, my mind's gone blank now, what the keyboard player, Martin Duffy, I think his name was.
Yeah.
Martin Duffy, yeah. I think that gig I was at was the last gig he played. It's quite controversial what happened with him and all that, but I think that one was the last one he did, and then he was sort of kicked out the band after that gig, because apparently he was pissed on stage or something, and he was playing all the things wrong. I didn't notice it at the gig. I didn't notice if he was doing that. I didn't even know that was his last gig until he passed away recently. But yeah, the set list as well, it was all Screamadelica first, but then they did at the end some of the like other hits from other albums. But when they started with Moving On Up, it was beautiful, because they did it like, I want to say a cappella version. Like, to begin with, they sang the first verse, and then they then did the verse again with the guitars and everything. So they did it at Glastonbury. There is a recording of it at Glastonbury from 2022. If you want to see that version of Moving On Up, it's really nice. But yeah, for me, number 9, Primal Scream at Glasgow 2022.
Good choice, yeah. I've actually seen Primal Scream as well, but that was they were supporting the Stone Roses when I seen them, and they were probably arguably better than like the Stone Roses. Yeah, great. Yeah, like great live songs. Yeah, Moving It Up. Real favourite.
Yeah.
Of mine. Yeah, like great to have them on my kind of bucket list as well, kind of ticked off. Yeah. So for me at number 8, and I suspect you probably will have these guys somewhere on your list. But I'm going for Blossoms. So this was at King Tut's Wawa Hut in Glasgow, 2022, June 2022. Kind of, I don't think it was it was maybe like a kind of preview / warm-up show, I guess, like a wider tour, because I mean Blossoms. This is a teeny tiny venue for them, like, you know. It was a wonder that like they all like fitted onto like the stage, like, you know, like there's like the five core members and then the few extra people like as well. They've got like all that the live show, but they've really I guess got honed down a fantastic live sound. You know, a sound which is, I guess you could, if you're being harsh, call it a bit perfectionist, a little bit maybe sterile, but it still felt very excitable though. Like in a venue like of like that size, it still felt like there was like a lot of energy. But the songs are remarkably similar, sort of sounding to like the kind of like studio versions, which I guess is just a testament to how great they are like as live players. And my only gripe with the show though in general is they're a bit short, 16 songs I think, which for me personally. Especially like if like you're paying kind of say £30-40, which I mean in this particular case I wasn't. It was a tenner to get in, right? I'm going to £9.51.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So like I can't really complain with this particular one, but for me, if you're paying kind of the money like for like a kind of typical concert, I expect usually about kind of 20 songs kind of thing, like at least. And Blossom certainly have got 20 songs, so that's my only gripe with it. But they play really well, and I think just for the fact that seeing them, it's my only time like I've ever seen them. Seeing them like in such a small, intimate, and like iconic venue was really something quite special. So Blossoms at King Tut's.
I nearly went to that gig. I had tickets in my basket and I was like, no, I'm going to be sensible here and not go, because I think that was around the time the last album, Ribbon Around the Bomb, came out. And I think it was around when they were just initially promoting it when it came out. And I had a few gigs around that time anyway, so I thought I'll be sensible and I won't go to another one. I won't say too much because there is, you're right, Blossoms will be on my list at some point. But for now, number 8. This is the first gig I ever went to, and a lot of people probably think I had this higher up the list, and once upon a time this would have been the top of my list. And I'm going for Paul McCartney in Liverpool in 2015. And the reason I'm only putting it at number 8 is I've seen Paul McCartney twice, so I'm not going to say the second gig may still be to come, but the first time I seen him, I would have been, 2015? I think I'd have been, 17, I think, somewhere around then. I'm not entirely sure I was old enough to fully appreciate what it was I was watching, that I was watching one of the Beatles doing his thing. And, I will always be pleased to say that I've seen Paul McCartney in his hometown. And the gig itself, it was a great set list. I mean, I'm really pleased that I got to see a song like Temporary Secretary live. I know it's not the most well-known song, the most loved song, but it's not a song he does live all that often. So to say you've seen a deeper cut, I think is a pretty cool thing. But I don't want to say too much about Paul McCartney because without spoiling it, the other gig I've been to is higher up on the list. So I'll say a bit more about him and all that when we get to that. And I imagine I imagine we'll both be saying something about Mr. McCartney at some point.
At some point, yeah, absolutely, yeah. That was on my that was like that particular gig, like I was there as well, like Liverpool 2015. Yeah, I remember him doing like whipping out temporary secretary, much to I think everyone's amazement or slash compliment, I guess, for people who didn't know the title. I was there like with like my dad, and he was like, "Oh, how was this song?" Because it was incredibly zany. I got them up, but for the fans, it was fantastic to hear.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I've got Paul McCartney somewhere on my list. But yeah. So at number 7 for me, well, another one of my favourite bands. I don't think you're too familiar with, but I'm going for the House of Love. This was at the Cavern Club in December of last year. This was a kind of special run of shows they did, kind of celebrating the Fontana years, which is when they were on the Fontana label, and it's some of my favourite albums they put out, like the self-titled like the Butterfly album and then Babe Rainbow. Brilliant albums, and it's just a shame that, I mean, this is like unlike kind of Blossoms where it's really special, them playing somewhere so small. This is just the type of venues that the House of Love have to play these days, which is a shame. But for bands like me, it's just something magical about seeing one of your favourite bands like playing in such an intimate setting, and it's the first time going to a concert like at the Cavern Club as well, so that was kind of special. Like about it. But yeah, more so just for hearing like all those. It was all oldies, but it was just a great show. So yeah, that would be my number 7.
Very jealous that you've been to a gig at the Cavern. I'd love to. Yeah, at some point I will have to go to a gig at the Cavern. But yeah, like you say, it's not a band that I'm massively familiar with. Yeah. So again, I should probably check them out. So what are we on, number 7, is it? Yeah, number 7, I am going for a gig I was at last year, which was Sam Fender at St James's Park in Newcastle. It was the second night he did. It was the Saturday night one, and I am so pleased to say I was at the second night, because if I'd been at the first night and then seen the set list for the second night, I'd have been absolutely gutted. So it was just... Have you seen Sam Fender before?
I've not, no, and I'm incredibly jealous because I wish I'd gone to see him like on like his last big show like at like the Hydro. I wish I'd gone. I don't know why I didn't bother, but yeah, no, I'd be first in line next time he announces anything. Yeah.
Funny enough, I was at that Hydro gig. It was on my birthday, so that was a birthday to remember. But I went for St James's instead of that one because obviously he's a Geordie, it's his hometown, and it was pretty magical to see him. It felt like, I don't know how to describe it. It did feel magical because it felt like, I mean, he'd obviously started playing small clubs in Newcastle, and here he was playing the biggest thing he'd play in Newcastle. But the absolute highlight for me was he brought Brian Johnson out from AC/DC. And, to see Brian Johnson singing Back in Black and You Shook Me All Night Long, it was incredible. It was, the hair standing up on the back of your neck sort of thing to see that happen. So, it was just a really good gig, and Sam Fender, probably the best artist that's contemporary at the minute, I would say, that's like big in the charts and stuff. And obviously he'll be on tour again. He's not that old yet, so definitely get yourself along to see him if you get the chance.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've seen footage of them live, like I think Glastonbury Transmit, various things like that, and I've just always really wanted to go, but for some reason, it's just never happened. But no, a fantastic live performer, and like you say, like one of the best artists around, like today. So at number 6 for me, I'm going for David Byrne at the Royal Concert Hall in Glasgow, 2018. Former Talking Heads lead vocalist, if you don't know him by that name. I really struggled with where to put this one, because I originally had this one a lot higher, but I've decided to settle it kind of like mid-table for me, because the show it was part of his American Utopia tour. It was very unique in the sense all the musicians are basically mobile, so they all kind of like the drum kit had been completely deconstructed. You had about 4 different players, you had all different percussionists, all moving around it. It was all very well choreographed, and there's different lights and that, so there's a lot of visual interest as much as the kind of songs like sort of like themselves. But at the same time, it was also really fun as well. Like a lot of Talking Heads classics thrown in, Once in a Lifetime, Burning Down the House, this must be the place. So many great songs, but again, my gripe with this one was that maybe a couple of shows after he introduced Road to Nowhere, Talking Heads classic, as the kind of show closer, and that's such a rousing song, and I've just gutted I didn't get to hear that one. But he's a kind of it was quite special to see this, because he's kind of taken this kind of show and basically he's done it on Broadway, and like that kind of thing, like this kind of show. So it was quite good to see him sort of like do like sort of like with like this show, which was like completely like unexpected and like nothing like you'd ever seen before, sort of thing. And also a little bit like a homecoming concert as well, because he's from Dumbarton in Scotland, although you often think of him as a kind of New York kind of CBG kind of like new wave sort of guy. That he was actually born in Scotland, so it was a bit of a homecoming gig as well, I suppose. Like really great stuff, and I'd hopefully get to see him live again at some point.
I can't believe he didn't do Road to Nowhere.
Well, at that time, that was the one.
Yeah.
And then when he does it now, like I've got the show, like the Broadway show, I've got DVD. It's just such a great moment. It's like, why did you pass up on this one? Because he closes with it now. It's just seems like a logical choice, but I think you can't remember what he was, maybe like The Great Curve or some kind of Talking Heads deep cut, but it just wasn't. It just wasn't as good as that. Yeah.
Nah. Right, number 6. I'm going for a gig that was it my first gig after COVID? No, it wasn't. Just ignore me, I'm talking rubbish there. It was Blossoms and Rick Astley performing songs by the Smiths, which this was in Manchester at the Albert Hall in 2021. I mean, it's the most random combo. Blossoms, Rick Astley, the Smiths. It's not on paper. You would think that sounds stupid. Well, that would never work. But my God, it was one of the best gigs that I have ever been to. I think they started with Hand in Glove, and it was all right. But the second one they did, Big Mouth Strikes Again, that was when it really took off, and it was like, this is like the Smiths. I mean, Rick Astley doing Morrissey, he was doing the dances and everything. He was jumping around the stage like Morrissey, and his voice really worked on Smith songs. And it was interesting because when I was stood at the gig, there was people who were, I don't want to call them music snobs, but they were like, this said Blossoms, I don't like Blossoms, I don't like Rick Astley, but they could never do the Smiths justice and that sort of thing. And after the gig, they'd been made to eat the words, really. So yeah, it was an incredible set list. It was just obviously Smith songs. I think Please, Please, Please Let Me Get What I Want was the highlight for me of all the songs I did. But I would love to see them do it again. If you ever get the chance, go and see it, because if you're a Smiths fan, it doesn't matter. If you don't like Blossoms or Rick Astley, it doesn't really matter. It's the Smith songs you're going to see. And yeah, it was really good. And Johnny Marr, I think, they had a bit of beef with him over it at the time, which was interesting. And Morrissey as well. He actually, the night we were at that gig, he was at some other thing across the road in Manchester at some show, which was quite ironic that Morrissey was that close to it. Yeah. And Morrissey came out afterwards all in favour of it, and it was Johnny Marr that was all against it. So it was quite strange seeing, it's normally Morrissey that's the miserable one, shall we say. But yeah, so for me, that's what I would go at number 6.
Very good, yeah. That's one, again, if they ever do it again, I would be very, very keen to see it. I did see they were at Glastonbury last year, weren't they? So, and I watched that and was just like, like usually, just did it incredibly well, and kind of Rick Astley does I does a fantastic Morrissey, and brilliant stuff. So like, I'd be keen to see that. So kind of actually, this is apt. Actually, my number 5 is just mentioned him there, certain Johnny Marr. This was at the Battlelands in was it November 28th. This was him supporting his like the Call the Comet album, probably my favourite of his solo albums. And it was just a fantastic show. He get a great selection of tracks from throughout his career. Some of the highlights for me were his live version he does now of Getting Away With It, like the electronic song, where he just does this incredible solo in the middle of it, just transcendent stuff. And then, of course, the Smiths tracks he does, particularly like There Is a Light That Never Goes Out, just can't beat like hearing like those songs live from the guy who kind of like co-wrote them. So like, it's the only time I've actually seen him live, but I am making up for it this year. I've actually booked to see him twice this year, so I'm making up for it. Like Johnny Marr at number 5 there for me.
I've only ever seen Johnny Marr supporting, which was, I think it was at Cortinas in September 21 at the cricket ground in Manchester, and Johnny Marr was better than Cortinas. He was the highlight of the show, really. Like you say, hearing songs like There's a Light That Never Goes Out and Please, Please, Please Let Me Get What I Want, and I think Panic. I think it started with Panic, actually, which, it's great to see. And I know he obviously didn't sing them originally, but I think he does a better job than Morrissey because he gets the sound right. It's just the way he plays guitar.
Like Morrissey's band. Like I've seen Morrissey once, and he's not on my list. Spoiler alert. But when he does the Smith songs, they're just a bit ham-fisted, and his band just can't. Just can't do them right, and he's all over the place kind of thing with them. But Marr, at least, I think he's kind of grown into a half-decent vocalist. I mean, he's not going to be the best singer in the world, but you can certainly see, like, if you look back at early gigs of his when he first started as a solo, it's like kind of 2013 time. Yeah, he maybe does sound a bit ropey, but now, I think he's grown into like a really great frontman. Definitely someone who I really look forward to, like the 2 gigs I've got booked this year to see him.
Right, number 5 for me is a gig that you've already mentioned. I'm going for Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds at the Edinburgh Playhouse in May 2019. Just kind of to echo what you said, really. If I remember right as well, that was the first gig he did that year. So it's one of the very few times where you can go to a gig in this day and age and you don't really know what the set list is, which I really like because we didn't know what he was going to do. And like you mentioned, he did Rattling Rose live for the first time, which was a song that wasn't known at that point. It's a little side note, if you ever go on my channel and click on popular, my most ever viewed video is Rattling Rose from that gig. Because I filmed it and then I put it online. And then I'm sure like NME and stuff started putting it on the website because obviously it wasn't released, and most people there were filming stuff like Wonderwall and stuff like that. So but the gig itself, I actually met Noel that day as well at outside the Balmoral Hotel, and it was just a really good gig. It was a really good day, and he's great. He's brilliant, Noel. I mean, there's nothing to say really that you haven't already said. So, great gig. I would go that. And the Master Plan, I was pleased. That was the first time I've ever seen him do the Master Plan, and it was great to see and talk tonight, like you said.
Yeah, definitely.
So, that's my number 5.
Yeah, and like you, I mean, I'm really, really bad for looking up set lists before shows.
Me too.
I know I shouldn't. I know I should just let it be a surprise. But for this one, you physically couldn't. Or I mean, you could. I think I'd seen him maybe the year before during like the kind of like the Who Built the Moon kind of arena cool. So I had probably a rough idea that he's probably going to do a lot of that album and then some Oasis classics. But generally, you know, like you don't know like what the set list like is going to be. So that gives it an extra like element like of surprise, which certainly paid off with that particular show. Yeah. So my number 4, I'm going for Blur. This was at Newcastle City Hall in May of last year. I know I'm incredibly lucky to go to this one, you know.
Yeah.
This was it was basically like a warm-up show they were doing for like the Wembley, like the big shows like they did like at Wembley last year, and it was more just kind of memorable just for me for like the absolutely electric atmosphere like in like the crowd and a hits-filled set list which didn't feel stale because they'd not performed. This maybe sort of like the second or third gig after they kind of had reunited like in like this run. I think they'd only maybe played Colchester and maybe somewhere else beforehand, so they were still very much fresh out the gates kind of thing. So delivered with absolute passion and conviction. My only complaints, I guess, maybe would be the venue. It was a little bit it's an old venue, Newcastle City Hall. Not sure if like you've ever been, but it's very boxy.
Yeah.
So I was basically right up in like the corner. I had it was a restricted view ticket, mind you, but basically there were like a 3 from my view. Like Alex James didn't exist. Basically,
I think I've sat exactly where you are. I think it was Falls maybe I went to see, which band that I'm not the biggest fan in the world of anyway, but I've seen them there, and yeah, I know what you mean. It is a funny venue. If you're standing down below, I've seen Blossoms there standing down there, and it's fine if you're standing. Yeah. If you're in a restricted view seat, it is. Yeah, like you say, it's not the best.
Yeah, like although to be fair, I think actually for the whole concert, we were just standing, like everyone was just like everyone up, and then kind of no let up in kind of energy to be honest like with you. It still felt spontaneous, and again just another kind of like a really like bucket list one like for me because I think they maybe played a couple of shows this year, I'm not sure, but pretty much they're kind of winding down the kind of like they're sort of like they're like touring, and I think it'll be years until another album comes along. So probably one of my only chances, and I'm glad I took it. Yeah,
I'm jealous you got to see him there, because I did try for tickets but I didn't get them, so yeah, you did well getting them. Number 4, I hate doing this because I don't want to put him above Noel, but I'm going Liam Gallagher and his MTV Unplugged gig in Hull 2019.
Okay.
Which that was an incredible gig to get to be at. I mean, it was an intimate venue, the whole City Hall, and it was one of them ones. It didn't matter where you stood; it felt like you were at the front. And it was Liam and a full orchestra backing him, and it was beautiful. And it was also quite good because you couldn't film it or anything like that. You had your phones; they sort of locked them away in these little bag things.
Wow!
So there was no phones or anything. So it was probably the closest thing you get to a gig, like would have been in the old days, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, it was just to see him doing some of those old Oasis songs with an orchestra backing him. It was beautiful, and obviously because it's MTV Unplugged, it was filmed, and it has been released as an album. And I've only ever listened to the album once or twice, and the actual recording of it, I've never watched it back because, for me, I have always thought I'd rather it stay as a memory in my head and remember it how I remember it, rather than how like the TV cameras have caught it, because it might ruin it for us, if that makes sense. So I've never really properly watched it back. So I know the version on the album that's been released, the running order is for some reason in a different order to the way he performed it, and they've missed songs off for some reason. Songs were left off. But yeah, it was just an incredible gig, and I was very, very lucky to get to go to that one. So yeah, that's my number 4. As much as I hate to put him above Noel.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, yeah, controversial decision there, but certainly by the sounds of it, it sounds like a very special gig, and like you say, you've locked away in that, obviously adds something kind of to it. Yeah, interesting you say as well about not wanting to watch it back. I think I mostly, I don't know if I mentioned like with the Bell Sebastian one earlier, but that was being filmed as well, so it'll probably be released on some kind of streaming or whatever. But I'm jumping at the bit to watch that back, like in like some ways, like so maybe like just like slightly I guess just different preferences of retaining like the memory of that, but yeah. Anyway, so at number 3 for me, I have got Paul Heaton and Jackie Abbott. This was at the St Helens Totally Wicked Stadium in July of 2022. In a caravan of love, stand up, stand up, stand up. I'm your brother. I'm your brother, don't you know? Paul Heaton's the artist I've seen most. I think I've seen him now 5 times, which, considering that I've probably only been a fan since about, say, 2018, 2019 sort of time, is like quite a lot of times I've seen him. But his tickets are very, very well priced. He caps all the prices at like £30, and you always get a really, really, really great show. This one in particular stands out, I think, just because I was there with my girlfriend Jenny and her parents and her sister, I think. So it was a real nice sort of family day out, basically. But also the kind of supporting acts as well. So the Labums opened for them, who first time seeing them, I was already a fan of theirs, but they were great. And then the Proclaimers were also on the lineup as well. Who I always have a bit of a soft spot for them, being kind of sort of Scottish myself, quite fond of theirs. And again, songs like 500 Miles, Letter from America. They go down a treat live with any audience, so they were great. And then Paul Heaton, Jackie Abbott always pulls together a real crowd-pleasing set list of Beautiful South and House Martin's hits, as well as more recent solo stuff, which is very listenable and comes across very well live. So I had to put him somewhere. I was kind of struggling. I think which one to put, which specific gig, considering I've been to 5, but I think this one just kind of stands out. Really wet as well, which is maybe the only dampener, because it's all open air. We were on the kind of floor, so it rained. It was absolutely soaking. But that's, I guess, what you can look back and think, that's probably what makes it, slightly more memorable.
I've never really. Paul Heaton is one of them ones I always keep meaning to give him a proper chance, proper listen to, and I've never done it. And I'm kind of ashamed to say that I've never done it. But because was it Manchester Calling? Was that a recent album?
Yeah, that came out 2020. Yeah,
I've heard quite good things about that. So I keep meaning to check it out. But
I maybe start with the House Martins if I were you, or even just there's a good compilation called The Last King of Pop, which basically has a bit of everything on it. Kind of some House Martins, some have some of his more recent stuff. And it's all great stuff. He's really consistent, as an artist. So can't recommend him enough.
Well, you mentioned there he's your most seen artist, and my number 3 is my most seen artist, which is Blossoms. And I am going for their gig they did at Band on the Wall in Manchester, which was April 22. I'm wide awake, can't find a state of shock in my body. Can't stay on Beacon Street in town and on Broadway. It's the biggest Central Park forms of trees and blossom. So this was around, I think this was a couple of weeks before you seen them at King Tut's. This was the weekend that Ribbon Around the Bond came out. And obviously the album had been out, I think, a day at this point. So the songs, they were out there, but they were still new, so you didn't really know them. So this was where they got a lot of the live debuts, most of the songs on that album. But Band on the Wall itself, it's a small venue. It's like King Tut's. It's probably Manchester's equivalent. Yeah. And I was right at the front, as close as you could be. And like you said about King Tut's, the stage, they could hardly fit on it, which was, quite funny to see. But the set list as well was a good set list. Bizarrely, for King Tut's, I had a look at the set list, and then they seemed to shorten what they did compared to a Band on the Wall, and I think the gig Preston as well. So I'm not entirely sure why they shortened it at King Tut's, but Yeah, band on the wall for me. That Blossoms gig, it was just magical to see them in such a small venue, like one of my favourite bands in the world. To see them in such an intimate venue, and it was the beginning that year. I've seen them a hell of a lot that year. I mean, that week I've seen them twice. That week I've seen them at the Stockport Plaza, which is a little tradition. Every time they release an album, they do it. The week it comes out, they do it in full at the Stockport Plaza. I've been to it for the last 2 albums, and I think album 5's coming this year, so no doubt they'll do a Plaza gig, and I'll be there for that again. But yeah, Blossoms, they're one of the best live bands out there for me, and I like. The only thing with Band on the Wall now, I was there with my now ex, so that kind of adds a little bit of a personal, whatever the word is, but it's not going to ruin the gig for us. Looking back, it was still a magical gig, and it's one that it's my first favourite I've ever been to. So yeah, Blossoms, Band on the Wall for me.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, like I'm so like, how many times have you seen Blossoms?
Oh God, 9, I think.
9. I've got some catching up to do. My paltry one, yeah, but no.
To be fair, some of them have been like they've been supporting people, or they've been on like festival lineups or something. Yeah. They've not all been specifically just Blossoms gigs, but
okay.
Yeah, 9 times in total. I think that's how many times I've seen them.
Still a lot of stuff. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, so at my number 2, I've got Paul Weller, which was at the Liverpool Guild of Students in 2017. This is the first time that I'd seen Paul Weller. I think I've seen him 4 times, so he's my second most seen artist. So it's my first time seeing Weller, and it was essentially Guild Shoes in Liverpool. It's essentially felt like it was like the Students' Union at like Liverpool like University. Basically, I think they were getting these kind of warm-up shows, I think, for maybe a slightly bigger tour, like off like sort of like larger venues. This one was particularly special as well because I actually got to meet him before the concert like as well, which was really quite special. So for some reason, I think I've maybe seen posts on Facebook or something of, I guess, other people meeting him at various shows before like this, or like on like this tour. So I thought, okay, I'll give that a chance. So I was with my dad, and we got there really early, and we'd seen him kind of coming in at the venue, and then he kind of and then my dad ended up going round to the front actually to sort of start queuing up, and then maybe about I don't know, about 30 minutes later, then Paul Weller comes out the back, and there's a crowd of people. There's maybe about, say, 20, 30 folk maybe, but he comes out and is really patient with everyone. Unfortunately, I had nothing for him to sign or anything, but all like anything, but I did get a nice wee selfie with him, and it was really good. And then I walked around the front, and then lo and behold, my dad's right at the front, of the queue, so I managed to both meet him and also stand pretty much right at the front. And this was 2017, so it's probably one of my first concerts where I was like a proper gig, a proper standing. Everything before that I'd been in either like kind of like big like arenas or sort of theatres possibly, but this is the first kind of proper gig, and just like what a gig it was. They always put sort of fantastic show in terms of length kind of thing, in terms of like how much like it does sort of like 25-30 tracks easily, and then a good kind of range of material as well. Mostly solo stuff, and again a lot of stuff. It's a bit like the like that Noel Gallagher one, in the sense that he was doing a lot of tracks from the album that year, which I don't think had been released yet. So again, it's quite interesting to hear like some like brand new songs like sort of thing, as well as a couple of jam and style cancer ones thrown in like as well. So that one always sticks in my mind, I guess, as the most memorable time I've seen him, like for sure. So that's my number 2.
Something I've always respected about Paul Weller is the fact that he doesn't just live off his past glories. He'll only do like 3 or 4 jam songs, won't he? So same with Style Council. I've only seen him the once, which was 2022, and he's really good, like you say. And I was tempted to try and meet him that night as well, but it was absolutely pouring down, and I thought, I'm not waiting in the rain.
Wouldn't come out either, I wouldn't have thought.
No, he wouldn't want to stand in the rain with a lot of people. Anyway, my number 2. I'm going with the Rolling Stones, which may not surprise many people. Now, I've seen the Stones twice, and I was sort of struggling with which one to put here. So I'm gonna merge them into one and just say both of them at number 2 because I can't pick between them because I've seen them 2018 and 2022. Now, the 2018 gig for me was probably the better of the two because it was a better set list. Whereas the 2022 gig, I was standing and there was points where I was like 6 feet from Mick Jagger doing his thing, which was an incredible thing to do, to see, in my opinion, the greatest frontman of all time doing his thing still. But like I say, the Edinburgh gig, which was 2018, and this was before Charlie Watts died as well, so he was still there. It was the perfect Stones list, actually. I've got it up here. The set list. It was Start Me Up, Let's Spend the Night Together, It's Only Rock and Roll, Tumbling Dice, Under My Thumb, Ride 'Em On Down, She's a Rainbow, Can't Always Get What You Want, Paint It Black, Honky Tonk Women, You Got the Silver, Happy, Sympathy for the Devil, Miss You, Midnight Rambler, Jumping Jack Flash, Brown Sugar, Gimme Shelter, Satisfaction. I mean, as a Stones fan, that is like hit after hit after hit. It is the perfect set list for me. And you know, like She's a Rainbow, I was so pleased to see that because that is the only time they've ever done it live in the UK. So to see that one was, incredible. The set list for 2022, that was in Liverpool. So they did do I Want to Be Your Man, which was quite cool to see them do that. But overall, it wasn't quite as solid a set list as that. But I can't, I was like 6 feet from Mick Jagger, so I can't put it lower than the Edinburgh gig. So yeah, for me, Rolling Stones, both Stones gigs I've been to, is number 2 for me.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, I would say, I probably know, I'm not the biggest fan of the Stones, so I've not actually seen them, but certainly when we're reeling off that, like their Edinburgh set list, I do kind of wonder why I wasn't there, or kind of think, God damn, I wish I was there, particularly, when Charlie Watts was still around.
That Edinburgh gig as well, it's because of the size of the Stones. If you go and see them, the support is also normally like a really big act. So for the Edinburgh gig, it was Richard Ashcroft, which was amazing to see. And for Liverpool, I think it was Echo and the Bunnymen. So yeah, they normally have good support acts as well. It'll be like bands that arguably could play, sell out arenas on their own as well. So yeah. Great band.
Fantastic, yeah. A little bit jealous of that one. But anyway, so my number 1, probably not much of a surprise, but I'm going for Paul McCartney. Now, I have seen Paul McCartney 3 times, but the time I'm going for was the first time I seen him, which was, I've still got the ticket stubs here. It was at Hampden Park in 2010. 20th of June 2010, Hampden Park, just incredible. And this was my first proper concert, basically. So 2010, I would have been about 12, I think, maybe. It was just an absolutely magical experience. And I will remember this one probably most vividly, I think, in terms of the fact that he did a lot. It was a very interesting set list. This he did a lot of Wings songs, many of which for the first time live. Things like 1985 and Letting Go. Although those are now mainstays of his set list, this was the first tour that he did those. Remember, he opened with Venus and Mars Rock Show, which I think we were talking about in the McCartney video. That it's maybe not the best concert opener, just the fact that not a lot of people know it, but. At the time, but like in theory, like on paper for fans, it is it's nothing better than that. Other highlights for me would be like Live and Let Die, just with because it was at Hampden Park, it was proper open air stadium, so proper fireworks, so not just like indoor ones. And then also it's also the only time I've actually seen him do like Mull of Kintyre as well. Which is probably my number 1 moment at a concert. If you had to pick what was your favourite moment, it would probably be Mull of Kintyre, when the Pike Band came out, and it was just such a great atmosphere. And I've got the program, and McCartney's again concert programs slightly going out of fashion, but I've got a wee collection of all the McCartney ones. So there's the up and coming out there and the freshen up one. So yeah, it has to be McCartney. Unfortunately, all the times I've seen him have been pretty much right at the back of arenas or stadiums, which is a real shame and something I'm hoping to put right if I can. But yeah, time is ticking, I guess, on that front.
It is. Number one for me then. Kind of gave this away earlier in the video. I am also going Paul McCartney with the other McCartney gig I've been at, and this was Glasgow in 2018 at the Hydro. And I mean, this gig for me, this will never be topped. Nothing will ever beat this gig for me, because originally we were sat at the back, like at the very top of the Hydro, and we got in quite early. I was with my brother, and I was sat talking to him, and I was actually talking about Venus and Mars, funnily enough, saying I wish he would open with this, and my brother didn't know the song, so I put it on for him. And there was this fella who was sort of stood down from us a bit, and he was sort of looking at us funny. And I spied him looking at us, and I thought, oh, is he going to kick us out here or something for playing music or something? And he came over to us and he sort of looked at us and he went, are you two Paul McCartney fans? And at that point, I'm thinking one or two things. So I'd be really sarky here and say, well, no, we're not Paul McCartney fans. We've come to the wrong gig. But I thought, just as I was going to go for the sarky brush, I seen he had an MPL badge on. So I obviously then realised, I thought, this guy must have something to do with Paul. So I was like, yeah. And he was like, well, see that front row there? We've got these empty seats for some guests. And I was wondering if you two would like these 2 tickets to sit in the front row. And it was like, oh. So, yeah, we were in the front row basically. I was 6 foot from Paul McCartney and throughout that gig. And I mean, Paul McCartney was watching me sing Hey Jude to him. He was looking me in the eye, watching him sing his songs back to him, and nothing will ever top that for me as a Paul McCartney fan. And it's incredible. It's like a different world when you go to the front of a Paul McCartney gig, because there's all these people, and I was talking, they're mainly Americans, and I was talking to them and they were saying like, oh, this is their 120th Paul McCartney gig, and it's like, A, how do you get the tickets? And B, how do you afford it? Because they're not cheap, Paul McCartney tickets. But it was magical. And, you know, it was Christmas time, so we got to see Wonderful Christmas Time, which was nice to see live. I don't want to say that was disappointing in some way, because it was obviously an incredible thing to be that close, but Glasgow, he didn't do Mull of Kintyre. If he'd done Mull of Kintyre and that pipe band had come out and I'd been that close to him, that would be my favourite gig moment ever. In some ways, I was shocked when I left that venue that he had not done Mull of Kintyre in Glasgow, of all places. He couldn't have been any closer, really, to the Mull of Kintyre. But yeah, for me, number one, it will always be that McCartney gig, because I was that close to my hero, 6 foot from him. So yeah, and it also means if he does tour again, it kind of puts me in a funny place, because it's like, obviously I'd want to go and see him again, but now because that's happened to us, I don't know if it will put me off going again, because it'd be weird now not being that close. But yeah, top tip, if you ever go and see Paul McCartney and you're quite far back, get there as soon as the doors open and keep your eyes peeled for people from MPL, because the entire front row, apparently I was told by others, that he always leaves them empty at a gig, and he picks people from further back. It tends to be younger people he picks as well, and he moves them to the front. So yeah, if you do get the chance again, get there nice and early and keep your eye out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I am incredibly jealous of you for that one. I was at that concert as well, but a lot further back than you, unfortunately. Yeah. It was actually, for me, it was really spontaneous, because I didn't have a ticket at all. I only went through just to see him arrive, basically, / hope to get something signed, but I know that was near enough an impossibility. But even just to see his card arrive, I thought, okay, that'll be fine. But then someone outside was like, I've got a ticket, selling it, do you want it, kind of thing. So I managed, and I was like, yeah, sure. So I presented this to his old genuine, so I ran into a cash machine, got him cash, and then like managed to get in. So I was just there myself. But he always does a great show. But like you, it's almost like, and I've probably got a similar problem now with, like, say, Paul Weller and even maybe Paul Heaton. I probably wouldn't want to see them again if I was that far back, like if I was right at the back of like a venue again. So it's almost like, once you've gotten to the front, anything else, like if you see them again and you're not at the front, it's going to be a letdown, which is a shame for you, like, when it comes to Paul McCartney. But for me, I guess it'll be like, that's what I'd be hoping for. But who knows? But like, incredibly jealous, and you definitely like take the biscuit on that one for like top concert.
Yeah, the only thing was that, because obviously that was the Glasgow gig. I think London, the next gig he did, was the one where he brought Ringo out and Ronnie Wood as well. And if I'd been at the front of that gig and that had happened, that would have been, because I'd love to see Ringo. I've never seen Ringo. I mean, just to say I've seen the other Beatle that you can see, but Ringo doesn't seem to understand that other countries exist other than America. But yeah, so that's it. That's our list. I've enjoyed that, Ross. So thank you very much for taking part.
Yeah, no worries. It's been fantastic. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, so like I say, folks, I will leave a link to Ross's channel down below, so go and check him out, subscribe to him if you're not already subscribed. And we will both see you, I'm sure, in the future for another video. But for now, goodbye.
Cheers, thanks for watching.